look what time it is. It's Experimental Snapshot 3. Just dropped a couple minutes ago. Let's get into the changes. So, in Experimental Snapshot 3, they have actually tweaked biome placement to reduce temperature clashes. And an example of this that they listed on the Minecraft.net page would be a snowy biome in the middle of a desert, for example. Now, they do say that temperature clashes still happen. However, they're a lot less frequent now and a lot less common. So I guess that kind of makes the game make a lot more sense. And also, they said that they dialed back some of the changes that they made to like removing microbiomes from the last snapshot. So that could actually be very good because they wanted to add more diversity, I think. And I think that a lot of the player base actually kind of liked the diversity from all the microbiomes. And that's a big leg spike. I know that I sure did, for one, like the diversity from the previous snapshots. So I would like them to keep it the way they are. And I noticed with the new biome placement that it seems like a lot of the rarer biomes, like a mesa or a jungle, are generating a lot more. So that's always nice to see because I always hated going like 4,000 blocks just to find some red sand. Although they did say that they also added red sand back in the snapshot. So very, very interesting change. I didn't think it was gone in the last snapshot, but apparently it was. But this terrain is looking mighty fine in my opinion. Still loading in because I had to teleport to this biome. However, they say that now they made the meadows and peaks biomes not generate as much in flat, low-level areas. And I can definitely see just from flying around here that that change has been made. Because this meadows biome is super small, but like we're in a the farthest it's stretching up right now is 95 blocks. Like this tree over here is taller than the mountain. So I actually do kind of like that because I noticed that meadows biomes were generating like a lot in like low level areas, which made no sense because I would think that a meadow would be higher up to complement the peaks. But I guess that was actually just a bug, or maybe it was a scrapped feature. However, that is a change that has been made. Meadows and peaks biomes will now generate less frequently down in lower elevation or flat areas. That they've smoothed out the cliffs in like the shattered savanna biomes or in just shattered biomes in general, they say on the Minecraft.net page, to look a lot less like chunk errors. So they smoothed out those cliffs because I guess they thought they looked too much like chunk errors. Did they though? Did they though? I really don't know, but it is a snapshot, so I expect it to be buggy. However, it does flow like right into a swamp, so I guess that kind of makes sense, but like there's like a little mini jungle on top of that. That's hilarious. But I really don't see how this looks a lot less like a chunk error, in my opinion, because I think that they should probably work on this a little bit, because this looks more like a chunk error than anything I've ever seen in a Shattered Savanna biome. However, I do like to keep it that way, because I think it makes every Shattered Savanna biome look kind of unique, because you never know what you're going to find. That ocelot is stranded on that jungle tree. So within the snowy slopes and snow-capped peaks biomes, basically they've removed dirt from generating under the snow, and they make a joke on the Minecraft.net page that mountains are now less dirty. Ha ha, very funny. However, I do see some dirt here, but that's probably just from mountains curling up, and I think that having some dirt actually adds some nice, different looking terrain to the mix. But I definitely understand why they wanted to remove the dirt from generating under here. However, that does leave a lot of these weird things, these weird little holes under here. Actually, these look a lot like cave entrances. Are these bugged cave entrances? They might be. However, I do think it does look a lot better without the snow, in my opinion. I mean, the dirt. They've added a new mountain biome. It's called Stony Peaks. And they say that the only reason that they added this was just to prevent temperature clashes. However, I do actually kind of like the looks of these. They remind me a lot of the Extreme Hills. And I noticed that you can actually find service emeralds here. That is actually really cool. That is a 2 vein of emeralds. That is, that's cursed. So, anyways, I do like this biome, and I just have to question this kind of cave generation. It's very cool, don't get me wrong, but this part right here looks like something I generate in a custom world in 1.12.2, where I just mess around with literally every single slider and I get these weird things. However, I'm not complaining because these look stupidly cool. And this also looks stupidly cool. And I think that finding surface emeralds actually adds a lot of depth to the mountains. But like I said, I do actually like these stony peaks biomes. I think that they add really nicely, and it's a nice variation from the lofty peaks to the snow-capped peaks. They have added structures to some of the new biomes. Villages can actually generate in meadows biomes, and pillager outposts can generate in all the new mountain biomes. And I think that this has been the first change to which biomes can generate villages since, like, I think, taiga, or yeah, taiga villages were introduced in 1.10, I think it was. Very, very interesting. And I have to say, I really, really like the snow-capped peaks biome. This is going to be great for getting packed ice because currently you have to find an iceberg or an ice spikes biome, and it's just a whole thing. So being able to have a big reserve of ice here is very nice. And also, these villagers were not very smart when they built this outpost because they have to walk up this mountain anyway. Also, I found a ruined portal right here, just sort of sticking on the snow. Very, very cool layer of depth here being added to their whole ruined portal concept. I really like it. I'm hoping that I can find the chest here. Here it is. What we got? Curse of Vanishing Gold Helmet. That's trash. But yeah, structure changes have been made. So yeah, pillager outposts can generate mountains, and villages can generate in meadows, and maybe be destroyed by water lakes. I don't know. They have tweaked beaches a bit. They have made them more likely to generate in flat terrain areas rather than hilly terrain areas. Now, this isn't a hilly terrain area. This is a more flat terrain area. So the beaches will generate more here. And they also say that they have reduced the amount of stone shores. Now, stone shores weren't necessarily a bad biome. It's just, I think that they kind of wanted these better looking beaches to be here more often than those stone shores, you know? So, also, I've noticed a pretty okay performance from this snapshot. I mean, it's probably just my PC, and the fact that I'm playing on 16 chunks might harm this. However, I'm actually gonna turn this down to to 11 because I need the performance. So, yeah, beaches, like I said, generate more in flat areas than hilly areas. So, yeah, changes to beaches. I like it. So, they have also reduced the chance for coastlines to be messed up by aquifers. Now, I think that that's a good thing because sometimes your coastline in the previous snapshot, it would look really nice, but then there's just this big aquifer there. And you know, I kind of like it sometimes because it adds some nice variation, but things like this, they definitely should be able to happen, but just not as rarely. And they have also made it so that in flat inland, or yeah, just in inland, low elevation areas, you're less likely to have like completely flooded caves like you normally would see with like aquifers. And that was a problem that I noticed in the previous snapshots with aquifers. They seem to like flood caves a lot. Like they definitely seem to have liked that, and they would flood caves all the time like that. However, this is a really cool cave actually. I would totally grab a pickaxe and explore through here. So yeah, aquifers no longer, or at least less frequently, will break up coastlines, and I think that that is a change for the better. So, another change to aquifers, they will now go deeper and they have more of a chance to connect with cave systems. And I personally think that that is a very good thing because I always noticed in the previous snapshots that when you find an aquifer on the surface and you go down, it always seems like it just doesn't go anywhere and it ends. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the aquifers like they showed at Minecon Live last year. They showed like you take a risk by plunging deep into the waters of the aquifer and seeing if you can find a cave on the other side, when that was hardly the chance that there would be a cave at all. So much so that it wasn't even worth it to go down there. So yeah, I personally do like this change because it makes cave exploration just a little more fun. You know, you go take the plunge, it's a risk. Now, you might drown, but you also might find a cave, and there could be diamonds in that cave, and all that good stuff. So, yeah, I personally like this change. Now, I know nothing about coding, but apparently they made aquifers have more high frequency variation, whatever that means, so that would actually reduce the risk of having just flooded caves everywhere. And like I said in the last change, I do think that it's actually a good change that we've had like less flooded caves everywhere, because I personally find that there was just too many flooded caves, and that you could never find like a really good cave system like just anywhere. Just they would practically be flooded like 50% of the time, I'd say. So very, very nice change to see that caves will be less likely to be flooded. I'm very happy to see that, because that means that you can actually explore caves now. So go do that, and peonies generate down here. That's very cool. Just another reason to go like exploring them, because you never know, you could find some peonies. Back in this little pillager outpost area here for this next change, and they said that they have fixed goat spawning because they weren't generating, or at least they weren't spawning in the new mountain biomes. And it appears that that change has worked, and they have fixed it, and now goats are actually spawning in the new mountain biomes. That's a good thing, because I think goats were supposed to spawn in mountains. That's why they were added, to add more flavor to mountains, I guess you could say. So, yeah, it's a good thing that these guys now generate here, because very, very boring without them here, you know? So, yeah, just another feature added to the already amazing Minecraft 1.18 mountains. Swamps will no longer overlap cold or dry biomes. And they also said that the swamps are now, they don't place hanging water anymore. So, I don't necessarily know what hanging water means. I'd imagine that it's something like this, or it's something like when there's like a big chunk of land that's like stretched up and there's water flowing down. Maybe that's what they mean by hanging water. But this seems like something that they're definitely going to have to fix, because this doesn't seem normal. I think it's something to do with the new noise map, but it looks like it's trying to generate aquifers, but it just can't. So, yeah, they're definitely going to want to fix that. Otherwise, swamps are literally going to be flooded. So, yeah, Mojang, please fix this. I'm probably just sad to see it go because it's nostalgia, but it's a change to do with desert temples. Desert temples will finally generate on the surface and not at a fixed Y level. So, like before, how desert temples would generate is that they would only specifically generate on one Y level, and I don't know what it was, but desert temples would always generate at one specific Y level, meaning that they could literally generate in mountains. I can't tell you how many times I was playing Minecraft 1.5 and 1.6, and I would find a desert temple, like the head of one, like these things just sticking out of the ground. It was hilarious. However, desert temples now actually recognize that there is land there, and they will not generate inside of it, and rather they will generate on the surface. Very nice, but I do think that there should still be a small chance that they can do that, because I think that that would add some small lore and small depth to the temples, as like they've been there for so long that they've sunken into the ground. But like, yeah, I'm actually kind of happy that this change has been made, because now we can actually find a lot more desert temples because they won't be buried. So, yay. So, a change has been made to the Mesa Spikes biome, or the eroded badlands as they're called now, and that these biomes will no longer generate these, like, you know how these have these, like, pillar things? They won't generate floating pillars on top of water anymore. I guess that that was a bug from the previous snapshots, or maybe previous release versions, where this biome would generate these pillars above water, and they would just be floating. Like, it's not like this where they would be connected. They would, I think they'd just be floating. I don't think I've ever personally experienced this, but I think that this change may be for the better, because it just kind of doesn't make sense why there would be a floating pillar just sort of sitting there. It has to be connected to something, right? But overall, this biome is still really cool anyway. So, yeah, I think that this is more or less what it means. Like, it won't generate these just sitting above water. So, yeah, small change to the eroded badlands, but maybe a big change. So, another change, it's a small change, but it's a nice change. Grass will no longer generate underwater. Thank you, Mojang. This has actually been something that I've been kind of annoyed about. I'm like, dirt rivers are supposed to have dirt in them, and sand and gravel, not grass. It doesn't even make sense that there's grass blocks underwater. Like, that's literally what it would look like. So I'm actually really thankful that that change has been made, because now things like this make a lot more sense. Another change relating to grass, or like something that just has to do with grass in general, is that they have reduced the risk of incorrect surface placements, and the example that they gave is how I tied this into grass. Grass patches in desert biomes. Now, since this is a river biome over here, the grass will still generate here, but they have reduced the risk of having, like, grass patches in, like, random grass patches in desert biomes. So, yeah, just incorrect surface placement was kind of weird. However, that shouldn't happen anymore, as they have stated in Minecraft on the changelog page. So, yeah, that shouldn't happen anymore. But they have reduced the risk of river biomes generating in dry mountain gorges. Now they say they don't actually have support for rivers above sea level. So basically, if it generates above, if a mountain is generating above sea level, it is considered a dry mountain. Now there is no necessarily biome for a mountain called gorge. However, that's just sort of like a mountain thing, I guess. I don't necessarily know what a gorge is myself, but all I can think about when I hear the word gorge is Mushroom Gorge from Mario Kart Wii. So maybe it's something like that. But yeah, just rivers. They reduce the risk for rivers to generate in like whatever gorges above a mountain. I probably look really stupid for saying that, but yeah, Mushroom Gorge. Let's just call it that. Yeah. So, very important changes to mob spawning. Mob spawning will now no longer speed up at lower elevations and slow down at higher elevations. It is all the same now, I think. They say it's similar to the way that mob spawning works in 1.17 at Y64. So I take that as it's basically all the same. And our last change that also has to do with mob spawning is something in multiplayer. Oh my goodness, I am so glad that this issue has finally been fixed. It's been so annoying. I've been in an SMP for a while, and this issue has literally plagued it. Mob spawning is now finally shared between all players in multiplayer. And what I mean by that is that every player now gets their own mob spawns. It no longer means that mobs will only spawn around in the chunks that are loaded at the same rate as they would as if there was only one player in the world. They will now spawn in the chunks around players for each individual player. Thank God, because on SMPs with more than 5 people, night isn't even dangerous and there's no mobs. So I'm so happy that this has finally been changed and fixed, I guess you could say, because this has been an issue within Minecraft multiplayer for a long time, I have to say. So I am so thankful that this issue has finally been fixed. And with that, that will actually wrap up the changelog from Experimental Snapshot 3. Now, if there's anything that I'd like to say about the snapshot, I'd say that it's really well polished and that there are also some known issues that they still have, like low performance. So that kind of removes some polish points, of course, but you know, low performance. They're still working on performance optimizations for the normal snapshots that are coming down the road. Nether generation is still messed up, and end pillars do not generate, but they do generate when you respawn the dragon. So I guess you could keep that in mind. So they're working on those issues, and they will get them resolved at some point. Just we gotta be patient, and that's all that matters. Now, I think that the snapshot was really good. We had some pretty good changes, like goats finally spawning, and the multiplayer change with mob spawning. Oh, that is just wonderful for me. Uh, this is a trash chest. So yeah, if I have one suggestion for this, from the snapshot, I think I'd have to say that it has to do with lush caves. Now, it's not in particular that the biome needs to be changed or anything like that. What I'd like to see is that I'd like to see lush caves generating under jungles more frequently or all the time. Basically, I think that would be a really nice sort of immersion feature and a sort of like a tactical thing. Like if you want to find a lush cave super easily, go to the jungle, they generate there more often. And it also would kind of make more sense for lush caves to generate under jungles, since like the jungle is already basically a lush cave biome that's not a cave. It's above ground. It's just lush surface, I guess you could say. So yeah, I think that having lush caves generating underneath jungle biomes, like mostly or all the time, would actually be a really cool feature, and I would actually really like to see that in the next snapshot. So, with that, thank you all for watching. Check out this experimental snapshot if you want to. As always, you can always check out the link to the Minecraft.net changelog page. There's nothing that I didn't mention. However, if you want to read it yourself, if something I said didn't make sense, you can always check out that link in the description. So, again, thank you all for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. I'll see you guys all later. Goodbye.